Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Joanna Holden and I'm a fantasy author and author tuber. My debut novel, Snowdust, which is a middle grade fairy tale retelling of the Snow Queen, will be releasing on May 2nd of this year. I'm so excited, and as is fitting, we're getting close to the release date. I wanted to do some videos about the process of self-publishing because I am self-publishing a novel. Now, I've already done one on my first ever experience with a professional editor, and I've already done like the cover reveal, the unboxing of the proof copy. I will put all of those in the description box below. You will also find on my vlogs and how-tos, the playlists on my channel, some videos on beta readers and self-edits, things of that nature. But today's video, I am super excited because we are talking all about cover design, my very first experience working with a professional cover designer. You may be curious, how important is a professional cover designer when you're self-publishing? Isn't one of the benefits of self-publishing the fact that you can do a lot of it yourself and spare expenses and get exactly what you want? Yes, that's true. But in order to really get what you want, sometimes you have to pay someone who knows what they're doing. And I say this from personal experience. When I first self-published, I always use quotation marks, and the story for this is coming, but when I first self-published Little Hood, which is another middle grade fairy tale retelling, back 4.5, almost 5 years ago, I knew nothing about self-publishing at all. And because of that, I never thought to hire a professional cover designer. I had an artist draw up some beautiful artwork, which I still love to this day, and a friend lovingly threw together a quick cover and we put it on the book, and it was great and it was good to go. But unfortunately, while it was a fun cover, it was not something you would see on the bookshelf in a Barnes & Noble. And so your average consumer wasn't going to look at that book and say, oh, that's a great fairy tale retelling, I should buy that. They look at it and they say, oh, self-published. Do I trust this yet? Because as much as we hate it, there's still a bit of a stigma regarding self-publishing, especially when you have a not professional book cover. Then it kind of gives people the idea that maybe the book itself is not very professional, maybe the writing isn't very professional, so maybe their reading experience won't be that great, and maybe they shouldn't be spending that $8 or $10 or $16 on this book. Now, in the traditionally published world, you would have a cover designer assigned to your book through the publishing company that you have signed a contract with. Sometimes they want the author's opinion. More often than not, from what I've heard, they don't. They kind of go with whatever is marketable at the time, which is a great thing. They know what they're doing. So it may not be exactly what the author had in mind, but it should be more marketable. With self-publishing, you wear all the hats. You do everything yourself, which includes finding a cover designer and then coming up with the cover design that you want. It has to be true to your vision for the book, but still marketable. It has to look like it matches the other books on the shelves. Fits in enough that it's not like a standout sore thumb kind of standout, but does in some way stand out and be like, please, buy me. So how does one go about doing this? Well, I can't tell you that because all I know is my own experience. There have been a variety of people on AuthorTube that I've watched their videos who have worked with a variety of different cover designers, and the stories have all been different. So I'm just going to tell you my story, and of course, similar to my editor video, this is basically going to be one big hurrah for the cover designer. I will have all of the information for the cover designer linked in the description box below. So yeah, let's get into the story of how I found the cover designer and how the cover came about. So about 1.5 to 2 years ago, I was looking for cover designer potential for my high fantasy series that I then had to shelve because it wasn't working out like I wanted it to. And I found that because I didn't really know what I wanted on the cover, I wasn't sure what I was looking for in a designer. I also couldn't find a designer, at least online where I was browsing, that had any covers that just popped, that just made me go, yes, that's the designer I want. It was all kind of like, well, I hope they can get whatever I have in my mind onto the cover, and I hope that it looks nice, because none of these quite look like what I'm going for. With the fairy tales, I came up with that problem again. I remembered going through the cover designers and not really finding anyone that I loved, and so it was a bit with a heavy heart that I started looking again, because I was like, oh, I don't want to go through this again. Well, the first thing that I decided to do was look up fantasy book covers and see what kind of book covers were out there. I just typed into Google fantasy book cover designs to see what popped up so that I could kind of decide what kind of cover I wanted to go with. Even though I already had a little bit of an inkling, I wanted to see what was already available. Well, the first website that pops up on the top of Google is this website, fantasybookdesign.com. Clicked it, and up pops this page full of covers that I just loved. This was exactly the kind of cover that I had always imagined for the YA fairy tale retellings that were coming, as well as so close to what I wanted for the middle grade fairy tale retellings. The other thing that popped out to me was the prices. I looked on the prices page and it looked like it was going to be about $350 per book for a combination of both a paperback and an ebook. I was like, yes, I can afford that. That's something that I could actually get behind, because what I had been looking at before was closer to $600 to $700 on the low end of things. And that again was for covers that I wasn't really sure that I wanted. I was like, yes, thank you, God. Thank you, God. He sent me right there. I'm convinced. I'm convinced that he sent me right there because he knew I was stressed out about the covers. So I contacted the designer. I asked if there were any slots available in 2019 because I was planning on just putting a new cover on Little Hood. At that point, I wasn't planning on rewriting it. Well, the designer emailed me back after a while and was like, sorry, things have been crazy. I don't have any slots available this year, but I do have a bunch open next year. What kind of months are you looking for? Actually, it wasn't even a bunch. There was only a few that were open still in 2020. That's how busy this designer has been. So I said, okay, well, let's book 4 next year and 4 the next year, because for some crazy reason, I thought that was a good idea. So we booked some slots. We booked February and April, and then I think it was like June and August or something else of 2020. And then I said, I want some more in 2021. They said, great, that's great. Just we'll wait until a little bit later to book those. And then began the long wait, which actually wasn't much of a long wait because it was filled with drafting and editing and beta reading and more drafting and more editing and then a professional edit and all kinds of craziness. By the end of 2019, I was ready though. I was like, okay, we've got this, we're doing this. And the thing I mentioned earlier, I already did have an idea of what I wanted in my mind. So when it came down time to tell the designer exactly what I wanted, I was actually able to make some sketches and send in some ideas. So I said, okay, I want Gerda and Kay on the cover, and I want the dark blue in the background. I want some swirly, like snowy swirls around them. And then, of course, the title on the top and my name on the bottom. And I want the titles in like curly letters. The way that this particular designer works, they use stock photos and manipulate photography with backgrounds that they create in order to make a very fantasy, a lot of gothic romance, that kind of look to them. But we were running into some trouble. A lot of what this particular designer worked with was YA, new adult, and up. So there were not a whole lot of stock photo images of middle grade aged kids. There were some headshots. We were able to find some headshots that matched. We couldn't find a body. We could not find a middle grade looking person who was wearing a not modern set of clothing. That was the other hiccup, was that I needed someone who wasn't wearing, a t-shirt and jeans. I needed someone wearing a very simple, very old-fashioned looking piece of clothing, and we couldn't find it. So I don't know how many emails we sent back and forth scouring the internet, trying to find the stock photo that would match. We finally found one, but we could only find one for Gerda. So there was a cover with Gerda and Kay on it, and I just wasn't satisfied. I loved the design. I loved the swirlies. I loved the title, and my name were just like perfect. Like, I don't know, it's just the very first try with the fonts and the shimmery white and everything was just perfect. But I just wasn't happy with Gerda and Kay on the front, largely because Kay still looked too modern, and I didn't know how to fix that. So I asked a friend, I said, hey, look at this. What do I need to do to fix it? And my friend said, what if it was just Gerda on the front? Now, I had imagined it being only Gerda at the very beginning of when I started writing, but over time, as I realized how important a part of the story Kay was, in as much it almost became like a dual POV story, I really wanted him on the cover so that young boys would know that this was an adventure story for them too. So I was hesitant to give that up, but she said, just give it a try. So it's like, okay. So I emailed the designer. I said, hey, what if we took Kay off and we just made Gerda, like blew her up a little bit more and made her the center of the cover? Well, that's when we ended up with the cover that we have now with some adjustments afterward, but that's pretty much where the cover came from. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, Yes, that's it. That's what was wrong. It was too crowded. It wasn't right. This is right. I think we went through 5 or 6 drafts. Basically, I told her what I wanted. She sent me back, okay, how's this? I'd say, yeah, well, let's do this too. And then we went back and forth. And it took place over the course of about 2 to 3 weeks, I want to say. It wasn't like a super long period of time, but it was within a couple weeks, and she was usually very quick to get back with me. So that ended up being the ebook cover. It's just the front. It was so beautiful. I was so in love with it. Then it was time to work on the back. Now, in case you didn't know, in order to have the full paperback or hardback cover, you have to know the amount of pages so that you can do the spine correctly. So I sent her the amount of pages, and I told her an estimate, kind of what I wanted on the back, and not really anything of what I want on the spine, just what I wanted on the back. And I sent her the book blurb that was supposed to go there. So she sent me it back, and oh my gosh, it was just like the first time just about she got it right. I think we had to make 1 or 2 adjustments. She put the title on the back as well, and there were some people that I showed that liked it, but I just personally didn't. So I had to remove that, make the print of the actual book blurb a little bit bigger. But I mean, the spine, like, I don't remember telling her what to do with that. It was just perfect from the get-go. I mean, oh my gosh, it was so amazing. At the end of the day, it was a very different experience from the editor experience that I had. And I don't think I was fully prepared for that. Having been with the editor, basically, we went back and forth on the contract just to figure out dates and the exact price and so on and so forth. And then once I handed over the manuscript, it was gone. I didn't touch it again for another month until she sent it back to me. This was different. We didn't start off really very formally. She just said, okay, what do you want? And we just kind of started working, and we figured out this, that, and the other thing. And at the end, okay, here's your bill. But we were working like almost every day, and every time I sent out an email, I was waiting for the next email to come back. It was very interactive. So, end of the process thoughts. It was amazing. It was such an amazing experience. And here is the final cover that we came up with. That is my very first experience ever with a cover designer. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to like and consider subscribing on the way out. I post a lot of these writerly, self-publishing, writer journey type videos. I have a whole bunch more coming out on Snowdust in the weeks to come. So click the notification bell if you want to be updated as soon as one comes out. Again, all of the other videos that I've gone through about beta readers and editors and all that fun stuff are down in the description box below, or probably have popped up in the cards. And you can also go over to the channel and just look at my playlists and find them. But yeah, that's all I have. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of the weekend writing, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!